the walk out of the eastern side of the projects back to downtown, Stefan tries to remember what he was told, routes he was taught by Mort so many months ago to try to find the fastest way out of this, well, dangerous and filthy area. Having narrowly given the slip to 4 youths who probably were out to rob him, and feeling the success of having a successful meeting with the man known as Melvin, a, well, businessman of sorts, trafficker in women. Stefan continues his walk, avoiding, well, keeping to the same path he took in, back to where he was before heading toward Drexel Avenue. Trying to stay as alert as possible, but things are not as they were before the meeting. Stefan starts to, well, his vision shifts. Things begin to undulate or to wave just ever so slightly. He starts to feel this odd sensation. Oh, he knows his heart has not beat in many years. He feels as though his heart is beating, first normal, and then slowing down, slowing down, and slowing down. He is taken aback by the feeling, remembering the person he just fed on. But that doesn't matter to him. He gets caught up in the feeling more than anything, as though he's floating on a cloud instead of walking on the streets of New Sarum outside of the projects. Tries to stay focused. I'm going to have him make a wits and streetwise. Difficulty 8. He manages to remember the route that he took in, and he takes that route back out, trying to avoid people, pulling the hood back over his face, and keeping the money half up front for the job that he's going to do for Melvin. The feeling of, or the feeling of floating, the feeling of being lighter on his feet is exhilarating to Stefan, and he begins to feel a heat around him, like a warm breeze. Disconcerting. He starts to pat his arms, thinking that maybe he's covered in flame or there's fire nearby. He runs down the street, trying to outrun the feeling of heat. It begins to feel as though it subsides, and then it comes back again. He swears he can feel and hear his heart beating, still slower than the pace it would be if he were still alive and running, physically exerting himself. Okay. But he runs back outside of the projects, runs back towards Chinatown to get through that and back into downtown, back to his apartment, back to the safety where the flames won't get him. He occasionally pats his arms as he runs. He doesn't scream. He restrains himself that much. But he tries to outrun that flame as he begins to hear the sound of roaring behind him. He feels like the lick of a tail at his heels. The heat begins to build. And as he keeps running and running and running, he just completely ignores what would be exhausting to him. He ignores that exhausting. He just puts it out of his mind. It's more important that he do this, all the while feeling himself as though he's floating above the ground, chasing that tail, chasing that heat, and not even realizing it whatsoever. Eventually, he gets within sight of his apartment. The diner downstairs closed. And he rushes and rushes after his 20-30 minute walk back to downtown. Runs up to the door, quickly pulling the keys from his pocket, opening it. And when he gets in, he closes the door frantically, latching the locks, the bolts on the door, running over to his bed, sitting, huddling around it, trying to ignore the heat. He strips off his clothes, tossing them to the floor, jumping into the small shower stall in the area that would be a bathroom if it were enclosed. The only enclosure, 2 curtains. He closes those curtains and turns on the cold water, trying to chase away the heat. The heat as hot as a dragon's breath.